The great thinkers of our generation said only two things were certain in life: death and taxes. And today I will be evading one of those things by 100%ing Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. There's a few things we need to do for 100%. We have to tear up 24 documents and collect all hats and all hearts. The first of those documents is right here at the beginning with our tax bill. So naturally, I ripped it up and talked to Mayor Onion about how to get my greenhouse back. He sends us on a quest to get fertilizer from this old barn. I kind of just ignored him and started by meeting all the NPCs in the starting area, including this guy who just says he's a blueberry, and Chad, the IRS turnip. Weird group. We stole an old lemons watering can, and I got underway with the first little side quest, which was to grow this flower, bring it to the strawberry, and then in return, bring a love letter back to the blueberry. But of course, we just tore up the letter. But in return, we got the sun hat, which is the first of the 24 hats we have to collect. Next, I headed over to the forest and grew up a soil sword, our first weapon. I now had the ability to kill the snails, including this guy's roommate, because he didn't pay rent. He got weirdly angry at me for stabbing him. Not sure why. But it got us our next document to rip. Then I ripped up this wanted poster and made my way over to the new area called Laserly Lanes or something. I don't remember. All I know is the next document is up here in a trash can, so I quickly ripped that one up. I also ripped up this guy's 1099, which seemed like an issue. Next, we met this streamer who I'm pretty sure was also an OnlyFans model, but I couldn't really get the vibe. Not sure what vegetable she was either, but she told me I needed to give her a tier 3 sub in order to enter the barn. And to be honest, this took me like way too long to figure out that I just had to go get an actual sub from this guy and just bring it back to her. Yeah, kind of embarrassing. But since I was now a tier 3 sub, I got access to the bustling barn, and she gave me our next document, which I quickly ripped up, just like the rest of them. Our next thing to rip up was in the barn called How to Do Your Taxes. Then we picked up the boom boots, which made it so that we could kick bombs and finally gain access to the other parts of the barn. It all eventually led up to the first boss of this run, the giant pig. It wasn't a really tough boss battle, to be honest. You just throw bombs and kick them at him. It only takes about 3 and then he just dies. This gives us our first of 9 heart fruits, our next hat, the crown, and another document to rip up. I talked to this suspicious looking blueberry about delivering some wood to one of his clients, and that's how he picked up the heart hat. We get another heart fruit for finishing up this puzzle before returning to Mayor Onion, who sends us on a new quest to find a fork. On our way to do that, I found another document to rip in half and met this guy. Weird. I then found a baby in a trash can. A lot of heavy topics for this game. I returned the baby to its mother and picked up a stool, which let me break into the abandoned house. Once I got in there, I had to fight a bunch of moldy candy monsters, and then I met the cosmic brownie Deb, who sent me on a quest to go help the people in the icebox. I met a couple of weird NPCs, but then, who is this sexy mama over here? I set out immediately on a quest for Nurse Lollipop, collecting opiates as well as a moldy old band-aid. I returned immediately, hoping to get some type of reward. And then she gave me a big old berry-flavored kiss. I fought even more moldy food, got 2 more documents ripped up, and headed to fight the boss, which was a cat. Awesome. I am honestly a little embarrassed to admit that I died the first time fighting this boss, but it's fine. I got it back the next time. This got us our next heart fruit and the fork. I took a can of spray paint I found in the abandoned house to this guy to get another heart. Then I talked to this shady carrot and got a hammer to break the pickle out of jail. This rewarded me with the best hat in the game and another heart fruit. I also rescued this old cranberry's cat and got an interesting reward, to say the least. Obviously, I ripped it up and moved on with my life. Mayor Onion sent me on yet another quest, this time to find some mysterious goop. I took a slight detour to save this kid's phone, and in return, I got another document to rip up. I made my way into the evil goop forest and tore up another wanted poster, this time for $2 instead of $1. Then we got to the coolest puzzle in the game, which was Portal. I thought this was super sick. Portal's an awesome game, and to see it in Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion was super funny to me. We picked up a doodle of some mural, which we surprisingly don't rip up, actually, and brought it back to the Research Avocado Annie. I did a few more Portal puzzles, discovered a not alive turnip, which is a little strange, and fought this really big deer. This all led me to get the potted petal portal, which lets me just make portals wherever I want, so super fucking awesome. We then made it to the next boss in the game, this giant radioactive deer, which was also clearly retarded. It just ran back and forth, slamming itself into the wall. What the fuck was this boss, dude? I just waited until he eventually killed himself. With that out of the way, we picked up another heart fruit, the green goop, the explorer hat, and a leaf, which we were able to take to the real estate blueberry to get our next document. We used the petal portal to grab this heart fruit, leaving only 2 more, before returning to Mayor Onion, who sent us on yet another quest to find the laser pointer. But first we had to break into the graveyard to get a shovel, so that way we could break into the bunker where I guess the laser pointer was hidden. Weird lore to this game. The first things I did once we got into the graveyard were pick up the top hat and tear up this document on a gravestone. Super weird again. I solved a couple of puzzles and eventually made it to the end where we got the shovel. Next things next, I pried open the bunker door and made my way down. The first thing we did was rip up this radiation emergency flyer. Then we picked up some hair dye, which we would trade in later to get another hat. We ripped up a newspaper about nuclear war and a little kid's diary. Just, again, so much weird lore going on in this game. We picked up the hazmat suit next, which made it so we were finally immune to fire. We then went on to fight what I think was the hardest boss in this game, Liz. Embarrassingly, I died to her not once, not twice, but 3 different times. Eventually though, I beat her and we picked up our next to last heart fruit. I brought the hair dye back from the bunker, which got us the scissors hat, just makes us bald, before returning to Mayor Onion, who, we all guessed it, was evil this whole time and has been collecting these items for some nefarious activities and taxes, I guess. The old lemon whose watering can we stole revealed to us that our father was actually partners with Mayor Onion, and they were both mobsters. Even more crazy lore. So I entered the bunker where I ripped up 3 more documents, Big Basic English for Dummies, a letter from my father, not sure why we ripped this one, and the Communist Manifesto by Mayor Onion. Next, I found a nuclear bomb in the basement and got an achievement for blowing myself up. Awesome. Before fighting Mayor Onion, I wanted to pick up all the hats, so I went over to the mailbox to grab all of these ones, and then I went and talked to the potato guy in the graveyard. He gave me a letter to go deliver to his dad back in the icebox, and then I had to go back and forth between them receiving the hats. Super annoying, but I got the bird hat and the farmer's hat, and with that, the fashionista achievement for collecting all of the base game hats. I then headed up to this cave that was blocked earlier to pick up the final heart fruit. I checked over the list one more time, making sure we had every document except one, which we would get after we defeated Mayor Onion, and headed into the boss battle. First things first, I had to kill the evil IRS radishes, but after that, Mayor Onion transformed, and I battled with everything I had. Unfortunately, even though I was able to defeat the corrupt Onion, he still decided to set off his nuclear bomb, exploding everyone, killing me instantly. Or so I thought. When I awoke, it was the IRS radishes who had saved my life. And the Onion had become some sort of possessed evil god. And I was the only one who could stop him now. And finally, with one final bomb, God Onion was defeated, and I obtained the property title deed to my greenhouse, the final document. And just like all the others, I tore it in half and let the credits roll. But we're not done yet. There's still 3 more achievements to pick up. They all take place in the post-game section known as the Limitless Line. This serves as a post-game endless run with a roguelike element. Honestly, I liked it a lot. The first achievement was to just die while attempting a run on the train. Easy. Next, we had to defeat Conductor Onion, the final boss of the game. Again, not too difficult at all. But for the final achievement, we had to defeat the dark turnip character called question mark. It only has a 5% chance of spawning, and it only spawns in cars after you defeat Conductor Onion for the first time. So it took me hours to even get my first encounter with him, and by the time I did reach him, I barely had any hearts, and so I just died immediately. The same exact thing happened the next time I fought him, and I was getting really pissed off. Finally, after another 2 hours of hunting for this encounter, I got him for a third time, and a battle of epic proportions ensued. Once that was finished, I had every achievement in Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. To conclude, taxes evaded, unlimited. Onions murdered, only 2. God slain, 1. Fun had, infinite. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. Until next time, deuces.